Hey everybody, Derek here to bring another video for The Walking Dead Season 5. This is going to be my review for last night's episode, which was Try. I'm sorry I was not able to make the video last night. I didn't get home till late, and if I do the videos too late, it wakes up my neighbor and my roommate, and I didn't, want to cause a problem with them. So I do apologize, but I am going to do the review now. And you can expect more videos from me this week as we head towards the season finale already. I can't believe it. Just in case you're still not caught up with The Walking Dead, there will be spoilers. This will be a reveal of the episode, so if you have not watched Try yet, don't watch this video or else you will be spoiled. Okay. So this episode picks up almost immediately after the last episode, probably the night of. And the Monroe family are obviously mourning Aiden's death and what happened. Carol bakes them a casserole and takes it over, but they don't really accept it. And I don't know whether it's just that, they were just upset or they didn't want anybody, feeling sorry for them. A lot of different things, but they just don't accept that they burn the, mourning card. And then they later, they want to know what happened. I think they might do this every time somebody dies, like make a video and a record to kind of see maybe what went wrong, things like that. And Nicholas lies on the camera and blames Glenn and Tara and Eugene and Nicholas for causing. Excuse me, Noah, not Nicholas. But Nicholas blames Rick's group, for what happened, not admitting, his own cowardice and mistakes. I think Deanna can kind of see through that a little bit, but what will be the ultimate result of that, I don't know. But what I really liked was when Glenn talked with Nicholas later on in the episode and basically told him you can't go outside these walls anymore. If you do, you're going to get yourself killed or more people killed, and you can't leave your son, behind. And I think that he was, what he did was he realized, how Nicholas was already, 4 people died in the previous scavenger group. And then after losing Aiden, I think that Glenn just realized that he didn't want anybody else dying. That's always been, Glenn is wanting to save people. And as I said last week, Glenn has never failed to save anybody directly except for Noah. And I think that he saw, he didn't want another body on his hands. So by telling Nicholas not to go outside the walls, he was basically trying to save him, which is what he said. He said, no, I'm not threatening you, I'm saving you. And that does make sense, because it does end up, it probably will save Nicholas's life in the time being. So I see where he's coming from. And I also see, how some of the characters, like if Tyrese would have made it to the Alexandria, community, there's no way that he would leave those walls, or he wouldn't be able to. And it kind of makes sense, like, why they killed the character off. And you see that with a lot of these people is some of them just are not the kind of people that you send outside the walls to do missions. They're not capable. And I think this was a very perfect example. And another note about Nicholas. Nicholas was actually the one that found the gun and took it. He pulls it out. He had buried it in the woods, pulled it out. And it makes you wonder what he's going to do with it. I do have some predictions. I might wait until after season 5 is over to do that kind of a video because I do want to save some things for later. But I do have some predictions about what may come of that. And again, we deal with the Rick and Pete situation again. Carol told Pete in the last episode to kill. Carol told Rick to kill Pete because he was the abuser. So Rick decides to, investigate a little bit, and he talks with Deanna. And just like in the comics, Douglas knew about Pete's abuse of Jesse and his family, and in the TV show it was revealed it was the same way. Deanna knew that Pete was hitting his wife and kids, and she said that she hoped that it would get better, and it didn't. But again, it's about weighing the pros and cons, and for Deanna and the community, it's, well, Pete's a surgeon. Pete is a doctor who can save people's lives. And if he has to, smack his wife and kids around to, be able to continue to do his job, then we're just going to look past that. And that sometimes is the way of the world, where you do get situations where, you figure for the greater good, hey, somebody might have, did this or did that or did this, but when they do this, it's gonna, benefit so many other people, or it's, worse to deal with the situation that we can't take action. And that's how Deanna felt. Um, and I thought that it was very interesting, the conversation between Rick and Deanna, where Rick's saying, yo, we need to kill Pete. And Deanna's like, no, we don't kill people, we exile them. Kind of threatening Rick and like, well, I could exile you. I would never kill you for doing anything, but I will kick you out. And, I think we realize, though, from our perspective, that exiling people just doesn't work. I always wondered, like when Rick exiled Carol, I always wondered what would have happened if the prison never would have fallen, and would Carol have come back to the prison? And I think she would have. Exiling and banishing people just does not work. And Rick had a very good point. I mean, yeah, you can kick somebody out, but what if they know a way back into the community and then they come in and then they, kill people? I mean, that does make sense. So I can understand his perspective on that. And a couple of other things are going on. Carl and Enid kind of got together a little bit there. It was really nice. A very nice scene between the two. And I really liked how it delved a little more into Enid's perspective when Enid was like, we're supposed to be out here. I don't want to forget. And I think that, a lot of people, in general, like that was a big theme of the episode is, and since we've gotten into the Alexandria, community, is how much do you want to adjust to this new community versus not forgetting what the world is out there and always being prepared for the worst. And you see that as a constant struggle with some of the characters. And I think that with Carl and Enid, it's the same way with them, where they don't want to forget what's going on out there and what the world is like out there. And I think that's why they go out. That's why Enid goes out. She says, again, like I don't want to forget. We're supposed to be out here. We're supposed to be living this, this kind of a life at times. And I liked how she said, that this world belongs to the walkers. We're just living in it. And I think that it is very true in many ways, where sometimes it is the walkers that have the upper hand on the people that live in it. It depends on the circumstances. We've seen times where Rick's group can just manhandle the walkers and it's fine, but there's been other times where they've been a big threat. But I think that it does prevent a lot of things from happening. And I really liked how, the two of them kind of grew a little closer. It'll be interesting to see where they go with that relationship. And, how they were talking about, how they were afraid of each other. I think that I wouldn't say that they necessarily fear, like it's not a fear, but I think they're just very aware of the other's abilities and, to not sit idle. That they know that each one of them is capable of doing things to, survive or something like that. And I think that if they choose to pursue Enid's character and let her live for a while, I think that those two would become a very good fighting force, and I'll be very interested to see what they do with that. So, kudos to Walking Dead for that. I really thought it was a great scene between the two in the tree. Definitely setting up some things, I think. We also get to Sasha. Sasha's obviously still upset and hurting. And she actually does venture outside the walls in this episode. And she says, I'm tired of playing defense. I want to go on the offense. And what she means is about the walkers. There are a lot more walkers in the area right now. So Sasha actually like goes out and she's just like running through the woods. And when she sees a walker, she shoots it. And I swear to God, Sasha must have killed like over 20 walkers in this episode. It was insane. But Michonne and Rosita follow her, and we just see her. She's continuing to kill walkers, and Michonne and Rosita end up helping her in the end. And Sasha's like, "I didn't need your help. I told you to go." And a lot of us, and I think I had to watch Talking Dead to really understand. But a lot of us have been wondering whether Sasha has a death wish, and Galen Hurd on Talking Dead said no, Sasha does not have a death wish. What a lot of it is, what it looks like is, she doesn't want to get close to anybody and lose something else. And I think that we saw that. Like, Sasha in general, even whenever we first met her, yeah, she did have a good relationship with her brother. But I'll never forget, like, when she was talking to Herschel when she was sick, and she goes, I just do the math, I calculate the numbers, I look at the odds, and that's how I make my decisions. And I think that you see that for her, it was really tough for her to, I think grow close to people and, to really, have a lot of hope. But I think that when she met Bob, Bob introduced, this whole line of thinking to her. And Tyrese, I think, was always, trying to introduce some kind of different thinking in her as well. And when she lost both of them in such a short amount of time, I think she realized how foolish was I to actually believe that there was any hope in this world, that there was any, miracles, things like that. And I think that Sasha really personifies a lot of what Morgan is right now, where, especially in Clear, where she thinks her job and her purpose is to clear, to kill the walkers. And I think that it's the purpose that she finds that she can live with and that she can do, and it keeps her separated from the rest of the group. And I remember what she said, because Michonne and Rosita do go after her, and we see a little bit of Michonne, kind of struggling a little bit with forgetting what's on the outside, and also, adjusting to the community when she was talking with Rosita about, how she was laying in the bed and was sleeping and all that. And I remember what Sasha said. She said, "It worked out for you. You can't help me." And I think that again, it's, Michonne really has come a long way from when we met her in season 3. It's almost like the two did a switch, because you saw how much Michonne was hurting over losing her son, and yet she's moved past that for the most part and has been able to become a more hopeful character and, better well-rounded, it seems, in the Walking Dead world. She's only gotten she's only gotten stronger since the series, whereas Sasha appears to not be able to, at this moment, have that kind of epiphany. So it'll be very interesting to see where they go with the character. I don't think they'll kill Sasha off this season. I think there's a lot they can do with the character, and I really hope that they pursue that. In other news, we also had Daryl and Aaron find more walkers with W's on them, and they find an eviscerated woman, like her entire, stomach was just hollowed out. I think the walkers ate her, I think was what they said. But we've been seeing the W more and more and more, and I think that, in the next episode we're going to see the wolves. And I think that Daryl and Aaron will be in some major danger as a result of it. So we'll see what happens in that perspective. But the last thing, the big thing that happened in this episode was Rick's actions against Pete and Jesse about the abuse. After talking with Deanna, Rick realized that no, she's not going to do anything. She's not going to help. So Rick decides to take this into his own hands, and he confronts Jesse. And Jesse tries to, tell Rick not to get involved. And again, I don't really know why necessarily. I mean, again, abused people, have different reactions and can react in different ways. And I stress, I'm not an expert. I think that a lot of it was really just, the way that they are living. I don't think she wants the conflict. I don't think that she wants to be dealing with that, that it's much better that the way that she's living with, because maybe Pete, I don't think Pete hits her every day. I don't think it's one of those kind of situations, but I don't think that she wanted to make things worse and make it public and make it more stressful on the community, I think was her worry. But it's also clear that Rick's motivations are very much for, like a personal thing. It's clear that he loves Jesse, or he has feelings for Jesse. I think that he might see a lot of Lori in Jesse. And he even says it. He says he wouldn't do this for anyone else, because Jesse asks him, like, would you really do this for others? And he goes, no, I wouldn't. And that shocked me, because I thought, oh, well, this is Rick. He's a cop. He would do this for anybody. This is what his job is. He's a constable. He's there to protect anybody. So if any conflict was going on, he would settle it. And he said, no, I would not go this far for anyone else, which really made me surprised. I really, that was the moment when I was like, oh, this is more than just abuse. This is kind of, in a way, Rick trying to eliminate Pete from the picture, and he has his reason. Now, I don't think that Rick would have ever gone out of his way to murder Pete just to get Jesse, but I think that you see that there's more than just morals in Rick's reasons. And I'm going to do a separate video on Rick, analyzing him later in the week, so I don't want to go in too much, and I see that I'm running later on time in this video. So basically what ends up happening is Rick, Jesse tries to shut him out. Rick goes outside and starts to look around, and he sees like different images of people being happy and everything. And I think that Rick has always realized that this community is living in the past. They're trying to live like the way that things were before and kind of live in like a utopia and make everything perfect. And Rick realizes that nothing has changed. I don't think that he's ever accepted that. He realizes that inside these walls, people are just like they are on the outside. I think that when he realized that there are dangerous people that could potentially hurt him or other people, and I think also it lended to, Noah dying and Glenn telling Rick about what Nicholas did, I think made Rick realize just how much these people are threats to his group and his family and how they're not prepared. So he does take matters into his own hand, and Rick and Pete get into a very brutal fight. They end up throwing each other through a window. They're fighting on the street. Jesse and Carl try to pull the fight apart, and they both get shoved away by their respected loved ones. And just it was absolutely brutal. That was exactly what I was hoping for, because that is a comic book moment. Pete and Rick get into a big fight, and Rick wants to take care of the situation, and Deanna's like, no, what did I tell you? You can't be doing this. So Rick pulls the gun, reveals the gun, points it at everybody, and he starts to tell them, that Alexandria, they really don't know what they're doing. And he says, we have to live in the real world. No more of this crap that you guys are living, sitting around and hesitating and making decisions. I'm not going to stand by and wait. Because again, you take everything that has happened, and he realizes that, in a way, these people really aren't prepared. And you see that, the way that they failed on the run to keep everybody safe, Nicholas's cowardice, Deanna failing to take responsibility for what Pete was doing and looking the other way. All of that leads to Rick realizing that these people are threats to him, and they don't know how to survive in his mind. Now, I'm going to analyze, both sides of the story, but Rick basically says, we're living in the real world, and he sees the real world as a very dangerous place. That it doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, the world is dangerous. Like, it doesn't matter if you're behind the walls of a prison or behind the walls of Alexandria Safe Zone or outside in the, just the outside, exposed, no shelter kind of life. It's always going to be dangerous, and it's always the same in Rick's mind. And he basically is just yelling and screaming and pointing the gun and scaring people, obviously. And Michonne realizes that enough's enough, comes behind him and smacks him right on the back of the head, knocks him out, and that ends the episode. But I think it was a very good episode, very well done. I cannot wait for next week. It's going to be insane. But again, I will be doing a video analyzing Rick. I'm going to analyze some predictions of what's going to happen, and decide whether they will banish or exile Rick, because when they were talking, like Rick says that we need to control who lives in this community now. We can't just let anybody in. And Deanna goes, that's never been more clear to me than it is now. And I mean, you have to wonder, is she talking about Rick, or is she talking about Pete, or what is she talking about? We don't know. So I'm going to analyze a lot of that and come back with some predictions. So stay tuned. I will have more videos coming. And please subscribe. I do have more videos coming. If you want any suggestions, don't be afraid to leave them, especially for, what's coming in the next couple weeks, since Walking Dead will be over for the season. I have some ideas, but I want to be able to keep going with videos for a while to help us bridge the gap. So if you guys have any suggestions, please leave them. Have a very wonderful evening, and thank you very much for watching.